stands for don't mind I mean, that is better, but like, wait, what? Wait. Oh, there it is. Okay. Crazy. Alright, I think we are up. Hold on. Alright. Hello. Hello, YouTube. It's your girl. Oh, you guys are terrible. Hello. We are back to read some more of The Secret of the Old Clock, a cozy Nancy Drew mystery that just came into the public domain last month. So that's pretty exciting. Twitch chat is being very bratty. It has been a chaotic stream so far, with many technical issues and much sassing from the peanut gallery. But we're here. We're gonna read some very cute, cozy mysteries. Let me open up the book again. I had to restart my computer, so all the programs that I had open and prepped closed. But we're doing it. It's fine. We're fine. Everything's fine. Hi, Kevin, aka Keyturn. Sorry, Keyturn. I thought this was a newbie coming in and saying "Run while you can," cursed stream, but then I saw that it's Keyturn. I feel much better about it now. Yeah. I was like, what the fuck, Kevin? No, Keyturn, thank you for watching over on YouTube. Yeah, Kevin. No, I really, really appreciate it. Yeah, if anyone from the Twitch side of things has the capacity, both, you know, mentally, energetically, and also technologically, to be able to open up the YouTube stream just like in the background, or, you know, your second or third or fourth monitor, or the old tablet in the corner, or something like that, that really helps with me accruing watch hours. Also, if you have not dropped a sub yet to my YouTube channel, that would be awesome if you could do that. This is, I just popped it into the Twitch chat. That is the link for my YouTube channel where we read books. Oh, Nick, oh no, you woke up. Well, Nick, I mean, you're on time for story time. Hi, Uberku. Sinchobi. Sinchobi. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the resub. 14 months. Oh my god. How you doing, Sinchobi? Hey, Duke. Artax over on YouTube. Also, hi, Dweeb. Hello. Doing okay. That's good. You run toward them. Wait, Liam, is that why you hang out here? Because it's cursed? Dude, that happens sometimes, Buddha. Whenever that happens, I always like kick my legs and wake myself up from kicking. I don't know, I kind of like bypass the sleep paralysis you're supposed to have. Sorry, I'm stretching out my croissant. You guys have me laughing a lot, which is the #1 culprit in making my spine seize up into a million little cramps. How dare you be so amusing? All right, there's a pinned message now in every chat. No, wait, over on Twitch, the pinned message says in Aragorn's voice, "One day we will get our shit together," but it is not this day. Okay, we're supposed to have, let's unpin that, let's pin the link to the book. We are getting our shit together. This is all under control. So if you would like to read along, that is the link where you can download or just like open in a browser tab this exact book that we are reading. Yes, thank you, Sage. Oh no, Nick. Oh, okay. Now, yes, we are reading The Secret of the Old Clock, a Nancy Drew mystery by Carolyn Keene, and we're about to start chapter 11. Now, Nancy is getting very involved in this random case of a man dying and leaving his fortune to people that she doesn't think deserves it. Now, I agree with her, but still, it's a bit audacious of her. She's going around and collecting clues, and it does seem that she's onto something, because in case you didn't know, Nancy Drew is absolutely perfect in every single way. I mean, this girl does not have a flaw. It's kind of creepy. Ardax, thank you for the 100 biddies. Oh my goodness, thank you. So she is trying to figure out what's going on because she hears rumors and follows little clues, and she is positive that the man who died, Josiah Crowley, wrote a second will that he hid secretly because he doesn't trust lawyers, and that will basically gave his money away, to his considerable fortune away to very different people instead of the rich family that just so happened to inherit everything in the will that has been made public. So she's been going around, she's been meeting with all people kind of connected to him, and at first it's mostly just people being like, yeah, I feel sure he probably had one, and he did tell me that I'd be taken care of, but then the will came out and nothing. And the last person she stops in on is this like darling old lady that it's kind of horrific actually. This woman had injured herself and had been sitting on her couch for like a day, like a solid day, because she was not able to stand, and no one around was checking on her. This is like in the rural Midwest of the States, and she was like, oh, thank God you've, like, Nancy's a stranger to her, but like, thank God you knocked on my door, because no one would, like, she would have just like, she's like, I was gonna die on this couch, which is just very grisly. Like, that's depressing. Anyways, Nancy bandages her up and buys her food and gets her talking, and the old lady is, well, she's old and she doesn't remember everything. Her memory's a little spotty, but she remembers that Josiah definitely wrote a will. She's sure of that. And something about an old clock, but she's not really sure. And something about a notebook. And that Josiah had told her, like, if I die, like, the instructions to find my will are, like, in this notebook. So Nancy feels sure that if she can find Josiah's old family mantelpiece clock, that the notebook will be hidden in it, and that whatever is in the notebook will lead her to find the will. Now, she jumps to a lot of, like she relies on these little, like, intuitive bursts a lot, but is Nancy Drew, and she's perfect and always seems to be right. So, yeah. Thank you for commemorating that moment, Fidge. It was one of my more intelligent moments. Okay, now, oh right, oh wait, blah, blah. Also, so she needs to find this clock, but the Tophams, the rich family that, you know, inherited all of Josiah's fortune, and who are also, we hate them. They're mean, they're stinky meanie pants. There's two girls, like just a few years older than Nancy. They can hate her, Nancy hates them. Well, I don't know. Nancy's perfect. I'm not sure if she ever feels the feeling of hate, but she dislikes them strongly. So how on earth is she going to get into the Tophams' house? Because the Tophams basically took all of Josiah's belongings as well. So, Nancy has offered to sell tickets to an event, helping out her friend by doing that, but mostly as a guise to get into the Topham house by selling these tickets. Yes, Fidge, they top them off. All right, okay, that was a long preamble. Now we're here. Okay, chapter 11, visiting the Tophams. You got $10 saying the old clock is going to play into the story. What, the story called The Secret of the Old Clock? I don't know. That seems like a risky gamble. It was nearly 3 o'clock of the following afternoon when Nancy Drew paused in front of the Topham residence on Highland Boulevard. She surveyed the structure with distaste. The house was a large, pretentious affair of nondescript type. It was set back from the street and seemed to look down rather aloofly upon the surrounding homes. Even a casual glance at the lawn revealed that it had been landscaped with a vengeance. In an effort to do it in the proper style, Mrs. Topham had crowded the yard with sundials, benches, birdhouses, and statues. Oh, such lack of taste, Nancy thought, as she walked up the path to the house. Okay, who wants to bet that Nancy's like old money and the Tophams are new money? She lifted the knocker on the front door. Nancy Drew realized that the interview was apt to be an unpleasant one, and she braced herself for the ordeal. I must be diplomatic, she advised herself, or I'll not learn a thing about the clock. If they suspect what I am on about, they may bounce me out on my ear. At that moment, a uniformed butler opened the door and condescendingly waited for Nancy to state her mission. Tell Mrs. Topham that Miss Drew is calling, she directed. I'm selling tickets for the charity dance. It's one of the most important social functions of the year. I'm sure Mrs. Topham will wish to attend. Nancy was forced to wait until the butler returned, with permission for her to enter. As she was finally ushered into the living room, she could not help but smile at the elaborate formality, for in spite of Mrs. Topham's lofty ambitions, the woman had never achieved the commanding position in society that she strove for. The room in which Nancy found herself was even more bizarre than she had anticipated. Expensive oriental rugs clashed with window draperies of a different hue. Whoa. The walls were heavy with paintings, which were entirely out of place in such a small room, and period furniture had been added indiscriminately. But Nancy Drew was not interested in Mrs. Topham's lack of taste. As soon as the butler had left her alone, she hastily glanced about. Almost at once, her eye fastened upon a mantel clock, which rested above the fireplace. I wonder if that can be the Crowley clock, Nancy thought. Hi, Betsy. Hi, Grans. Welcome in. She rather doubted it, for the clock was too modern in appearance. She would have crossed the room to examine it, but a sound in the hall caused her to hesitate. As she heard someone coming, she sank down on an uncomfortable ladder-back chair and assumed an expression of composure. Mrs. Topham sailed grandly into the room and, after surveying her for a moment, took a seat opposite Nancy. "Well," she demanded coldly, "what is it?" "I am selling tickets for the—" "I don't want them," Mrs. Topham broke in rudely. "I can't be handing out my money to every peddler that comes along." "Mrs. Topham, I'm not a peddler," Nancy said cuttingly as the color mounted to her cheeks. With difficulty, she kept her temper in check. "Perhaps you didn't understand my name. I am Nancy Drew." "Oh!" A slight change came over Mrs. Topham's face, for she was fully aware that Carson Drew and his daughter were cordially welcomed in River Heights homes, which merely tolerated the Tophams or, in a few cases, barred them. I didn't catch the name, Miss Drew. What is it you are selling?" "Tickets for the charity dance." "Well, I hardly know what to say," Mrs. Topham hedged. It was apparent that she was afraid to offend Nancy, and yet she was unwilling to part with the money. Although the Tophams were well-to-do, it was common knowledge that Mrs. Topham was decidedly stingy where other persons were concerned. "How much are the tickets?" Nancy explained. Oh, wait, sorry. "How much are the tickets?" $2 each." "Why, that's positively exorbitant," Mrs. Topham protested. "But we are selling the tickets for charity," Nancy explained. "I assure you the cause is an excellent one." Before Mrs. Topham could reply, the front room opened and Isabel and Ada entered the house. Unaware of the visitor, they paused in the hall and carried on a disgruntled conversation. Evidently, they had been making social calls and were angry because some woman had refused to see them. I blink. Yes, you are correct. I am not Chapel Roan. It's true. You've caught me. Take off your wig. It's not a wig. Okay. I don't know who that is, Naz. Never heard that name. Yeah, the last time we saw the sisters, they were at the department store when Nancy was there, and Ada knocked over a vase and smashed it on the ground, and then blamed it on the shopkeeper. The vase cost $50, which we worked out was almost $1,000 in today's prices. Nancy stood up for the shopkeeper, which really obviously pissed off Ada. And then afterwards, Nancy went skulking through the bushes, eavesdropped on the sisters. Thank you, Grands. Pika, this is called The Secret of the Old Clock. It's a Nancy Drew mystery book from 1930. Hi, Deep Fried Deals. They're coming along, chipping slowly away at it. Are you a successful spiritual scammer? No. I'm also not an unsuccessful spiritual scammer. There's no spiritual scamming happening here. I'm just reading old books. That's about all there is to it. So yes, the girls are pissed off at everything right now. Her maid says she wasn't at home, but I know she was, Nancy heard Ada complain. The two sisters entered the living room, and when they saw Nancy, they stopped short and stared rudely at her. They did not speak a word of greeting. Hi, Zen. Good to see you. Miss Drew is selling tickets to a dance, Mrs. Topham informed her daughters. Don't buy them, Ada advised harshly. She had not forgotten the scene in the department store and longed to avenge herself upon Nancy, whom she considered responsible for her humiliation. "But Ada," Mrs. Topham protested feebly, "I thought it might help our social standing to take a few tickets." "Don't be silly, Mother," Ada snapped. "You'll only waste your money. We don't want to go anyway." "All right. I won't buy the tickets. Good afternoon, Miss Drew." Reluctantly, Nancy arose. She was somewhat taken aback at the unceremonious dismissal, for she had not accomplished the real purpose of her visit. As she turned, Nancy saw that Richard Topham blocked the door. He had entered so quietly that his arrival had been unobserved. "Just a minute, Miss Drew," he said. "How many tickets have you there?" "4," gasped Nancy in surprise. "Well, take them all." With a grand gesture, Richard Topham opened his pocketbook and carelessly pulled out a $20 bill. Okay, that's a lot of money at this time. It's a lot. "Keep the change," he ordered with assumed indifference. "Give it to charity." "Richard," his wife gazed at him with disapproval. "Have you lost your mind? A $20 bill," she whispered. "Oh, it's you who can't see beyond your nose," Mr. Topham retorted, but in a low voice. "You're always trying to get into society, and then you pass up a real opportunity. This donation will get our names into the paper." Are you a guy? No, I'm just doing a man voice for the man character. I do voices for the story. I can't do a Toronto accent. I'm from BC. How long have I been a vampire? A common mistake. I'm actually a dragon. Mr. Topham's had enough of his wife's shit. He probably has to listen to her complain a lot. "Hey, Diabol." Hello. Yeah. He slumped into the nearest chair and, opening the afternoon paper, buried himself in the stock page. Mrs. Topham knew that the matter was closed, for she scarcely dared speak to her husband when he was absorbed in the market reports. Nancy, too, realized that she had no excuse for prolonging her stay. "Anonymous, thank you for gifting a sub." "To Pookie Pudding, thank you. Thank you so much." Peace All Night, it is the pinned comment. It's called The Secret of the Old Clock. It's also in the description. Thank you, Fitch. Thank you. Okay. "Well, I really must be going," she said quickly. "What time is it, anyway?" "There's a clock in front of you," Isabel told her pointedly. "Why, so there is," Nancy returned pleasantly. She glanced at the timepiece as though she had never seen it before. Oh, surely that can't be the old Crowley clock. I'm so interested in heirlooms." "I should say not. This is a far more expensive clock than the one Josiah Crowley left us," Mrs. Topham informed her caller condescendingly. "Indeed? Oh, but I suppose you still have the family clock stored away in your attic. It's so hard to part with heirlooms." Cleverly, Nancy led Mrs. Topham to further disclosures. "It wasn't hard to part with that old-fashioned thing," Mrs. Topham returned. "We didn't want it cluttering up the attic," Isabel added. "Crowley left so much old junk. We considered the clock entirely out of place in our modern home," Mrs. Topham continued. "So we sent it up to our bungalow on Moon Lake." Unwittingly, Mrs. Topham had just given Nancy the information which she sought. The purpose of her visit accomplished, the girl politely thanked the Tophams for the purchase of the charity tickets and quickly took her leave. As she walked down the path to the street, she chuckled softly to herself. The Tophams may be old schemers, but this time they weren't so clever. Unless I am mistaken, those tickets will prove the most expensive ones they ever bought. Before they get through, it may cost them the Crowley fortune. End of chapter. Bungalow is the same word in English like in German. Is it it's the same in German? I am Horn. There are paintings of Faol terrorizing England in the Middle Ages. Yes, I have been around for several centuries. Wow, Ember, that's a lot of math and numbers. Cool beans. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, M. Horn. I hope everyone feels well soon. Alright, should we dive into the next chapter? Ooh. There we go. Chapter 12. Following a clue. Your voice is soothing. Oh, thank you, Peace. I'm glad you like it. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Hi, Nungood. Good to see ya. For context, I'm multi-streaming on Twitch and YouTube. So if you hear me responding to someone that you don't see in chat, they're probably on the other site. A bungalow in Germany is a kind of flat, easy house. Well, there you go. Wait, is that a German word? Like, who got it from whom? Okay, following a clue. Although highly elated at what she had learned from the Tophams, Nancy Drew was at a loss to know how to proceed. Undoubtedly, the old Crowley clock was set up in the bungalow at Moon Lake. But to get there was another matter. And Nancy was determined to profit by the information, but was confronted with a number of serious problems. Wait, wasn't her friend, like, the reason that she took over buying the tickets is because her friend Helen or something was like, I'm going to Moon Lake, you should come. Yeah. She's all about breaking and entering. Look, if it's for what she deems a good cause. Her dad's a lawyer, okay? There was not spoilers. That happened last stream. Moon Lake was located among the hills 40 miles away, and the roads were not of the best. How many kilometers is 40 miles? How far is that? Is that far? How long would that take to drive? Nancy did not know the exact location of the Topham cottage. Then, too, she needed an excuse for making the long trip. If the Tophams learn I've gone to Moon Lake, they may become suspicious, she counseled herself. I must think of some excuse to broadcast as a smokescreen. But try as she would, Nancy could think of nothing. Nancy, your friend just like a few hours ago told you that she was going to Moon Lake. Nancy, come on, girl. Now, she took a certain amount of pride in her detective work, and now that she felt she had struck a valuable clue, she did not wish to ask advice from her father. She preferred to solve the mystery herself, and then surprise him with the solution. At dinner that night, Nancy was unusually silent, and Carson Drew commented on her preoccupation. Well, it seems to me you've been looking troubled lately, he observed. Do you feel well? I've never felt better in my life, Nancy laughed. Just the same, I believe you need a vacation. I realize it isn't easy for a girl your age to look after a big house like this. After a time, the responsibility gets to be wearing. Oh, how stupid of me, Nancy exclaimed. In her excitement, she permitted a fork to fall from her hand and clatter against the plate. Carson Drew, who did not comprehend what was passing through his daughter's mind, looked at her in surprise. Stupid? He inquired. Oh, I mean, it was strange that I didn't think of Helen Corning before this, Nancy said hastily. Helen is going to a girls' camp on Moon Lake. Oh, I'm dying to go to Moon Lake. May I start the first thing in the morning? I know I can get in. They have room for a half dozen more girls, Helen said. Well, I think it would be an excellent idea, Nancy. A nice rest will do wonders for you. Go, by all means. Nancy Drew was delighted that she had stumbled upon an excuse which would make it appear natural for her to go to Moon Lake. Early the next morning, after packing a suitcase, she started off in the roadster. As it was not out of her way to go by the river road, she decided to stop at the Horners and give Grace the dress goods she had promised her. Imagine having parents of means. Dude, he gives her a lot of independence. Like, she's basically like a young adult at this point. They make her 18 in the 80s. That would suit it more, right? Like, because she's 16. But people used to have more responsibility earlier. Yeah. Okay. As she drove in at the gate, one glance told Nancy that something was wrong. As she saw a number of dead chickens in the barnyard, and as the Horner girls came toward her from the direction of the hen house, it was evident that Allie had been crying. Why, what is the matter? Nancy asked quickly. Oh, it's my chickens, Nancy. They're all dying. Oh, I can't understand it. This morning when I went to feed them, I found 10 dead. I'm so discouraged. And yesterday a fox took 2, Grace added. I guess fate is against us. I'm afraid I'll lose all my chickens before I get through, Allie declared unhappily. I don't know what is killing them. They seem to have a strange disease. Allie is all broken up, Grace said quietly. She's worked so hard with her chickens. Most of them are pets. And then we need the money so badly. Now that dressmaking has fallen off, the chicken money is our only means of support. Am I a witch? Yes. Yeah. Oh, please, won't you let me help? Nancy begged, reaching for her pocketbook. Accept a little loan to tide you over. Grace shook her head firmly. Thank you for your kindness, Nancy, but we can't take your money. We'll manage somehow. If only Uncle Josiah had provided for us, Allie sighed. You haven't learned anything more about the second will, Nancy. I haven't anything definite to report, Nancy replied, evading the question. She did not wish to raise false hope, and she thought it best not to tell of her discovery. But I'm still hoping we'll be able to trace the will. Anonymous, thank you for gifting a sub. Thank you so much. It's a clusterfuck. From chat reading to reading the book was jarring. Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. Alright. I doubt it, Grace commented pessimistically. I'm on my way to Moon Lake now, Nancy told the girls. I stopped here to deliver their dress goods. She handed a package to Grace. The pattern's inside, and I'm easy to fit, so you'll have no trouble. Grace's face brightened as she accepted the bundle. "Oh, Nancy, I can't thank you. It is I who should thank you," Nancy laughed. "And now, let me pay for the dress in advance." Again, Grace stubbornly shook her head. "Not until the work is finished. That isn't good business." Nancy saw that Grace and Allie were too proud to accept help and regretfully abandoned the idea of trying to give them money. "I'll come back in a few days for a fitting," she promised as she prepared to drive away. Nancy's talk with the Horner girls had left her rather depressed, for she realized that in spite of their pride, Allie and Grace would soon be forced to accept charity. Oh, if only she could help them. And poor old Abigail, Nancy thought. If Josiah Crowley had used a grain of sense, things wouldn't be in such a muddle. Nancy soon branched off from the river road and headed south toward Moon Lake. The highway was little traveled, and it was necessary for her to devote all her attention to driving. The road had not been dragged after a recent rain, and the ruts were deep. Jagged rocks and stones were scattered in the path, and it seemed to Nancy that the hills went straight up and straight down. Presently she noticed that the roadster had taken a strange notion to turn to the left of the road, in spite of her efforts to keep it in the middle. Not without foreboding of trouble, she stopped the car and got out to make a tour of inspection. As she had suspected, a rear tire was flat. "Hi, Danny. Thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Hello, hello." "Hi." "A puncture," Nancy murmured in disgust. "That isn't just my luck. Oh, well, I suppose I must fix it myself, because there won't be another car along for an hour on this road." It was not the first time Nancy Drew had changed a tire. This girl can do everything, I'm telling you. Not only is she like a rich, privileged, pretty girl who's also insanely, smart and kind, she also knows how to change tires. Like, there's nothing Nancy can't do. This is before authors started putting in relatable flaws, like readers or audiences started wanting like characters with flaws that they could relate to. Nancy Mary Sue Drew, yeah. Okay. It was not the first time Nancy Drew had changed a tire, but she never relished the task. Rummaging under the seat, she pulled out the tools and quickly jacked up the rear axle. She loosened the lugs which held the tire in place and tugged at it. Again and again she pulled, but the huge balloon tire could not be budged. Then, as she gave one mighty tug, it came off, and Nancy Drew fell backwards into a sitting position in the road. "Well, it's off anyway," she told herself with satisfaction as she brushed the dirt from her clothing. It required but a few minutes to put on the spare tire and fasten the old one to the rear of the car. Then, in relief, Nancy started on her way again. But the accident had delayed her nearly an hour. It was after 12 o'clock when at last she came within sight of Camp Avondale, where Helen Corning was staying. Through the tall trees she caught a glimpse of a long row of shacks and saw the smoke rising from the cook's house. Beyond, the blue lake sparkled and glimmered in the sunlight. As Nancy drove into the camp, a group of girls gathered about the roadster. Helen Corning came running out of a cabin to greet her chum. "Girls, it's Nancy Drew," she exclaimed enthusiastically. "Now the fun will start. Park your car over there, back of the cookhouse. Nancy." "Am I too late for dinner?" Nancy demanded. "I'm nearly starved." "You're just in time," Helen assured her. "Oh, Nancy, I'm so glad you came." "So am I. How long can you stay?" I don't know. Until you get tired of me, probably. Then you'll stay for the rest of the summer, Helen laughed. Okay, Helen, calm down. I always write. Nancy was escorted to the main building of the camp, where she met the lady in charge and registered. She is to stay with me, said Helen, and so it was arranged. When the girls walked off, Nancy told Helen about selling the charity dance tickets and gave her the money paid by Mr. Topham. Well, he surely was generous, said Helen in surprise. He did it just to show off, declared Nancy. I'm positive of it. Nancy scarcely had time to deposit her suitcase under her cot and freshen up a bit from her long ride when dinner was called. The food was plain but substantial, and already she discovered that she had developed an enormous appetite. Dinner over, she was rushed from one thing to another, and the girls insisted that Nancy join them in a hike. She returned to camp with a desire for a good rest, but Helen Corning had other plans. We're all going for a ride in the launch before supper, she declared. Don't you ever rest here? Nancy groaned. Oh, yes, at night. This is your first day here. You'll be used to it in a day or so. Either that or I'll be a wreck. But you don't want to miss the launch ride, Nancy. Oh, you'll have a splendid opportunity to see all the summer cottages on Moon Lake. Summer cottages? Nancy asked quickly. Instantly, she thought of the Topham bungalow and wondered where it was located. Undoubtedly, the launch ride would give her the opportunity to find out. Oh, you'll go, won't you? Helen begged. You can rest after supper. Yes, I'll go, Nancy promised. You couldn't keep me here. Although she was tired, she was really enjoying herself immensely. 6 girls loaded themselves into the launch, and someone started the motor. Sorry, the launch. Is this a boat? Is it a boat? I'm guessing? Like, I'm guessing. I grew up around boats, and I've never heard anyone just call it the launch. She's just able to... Yeah, you didn't have to pre-register. You just show up. Vampire party? Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. 6 girls loaded themselves into the launch, and someone started the motor. Oh, it's always a relief when the engine starts, Helen explained. Every so often it balks. But Anonymous, thank you for gifting us up to Derper79. Thank you. As the little launch turned out into the lake, it seemed to Nancy that she had never seen a more beautiful sight. The sun, which appeared to be sinking down into the water, resembled a great ball of fire. Yet she did not forget the real purpose of the trip. The Tophams have a bungalow up here, haven't they? She questioned. Yes, it's across the lake from here. We'll come to it presently. The Tophams aren't there now. Oh no, the cottage is closed. There's... Okay, some outdated language that I'm going to edit on the fly. There's a caretaker who looks after it. They call him Jeff Tucker. Is it hard to get to the place? Oh, not if you go by launch, but it's a long way if you take the road around the lake. I didn't know you were particularly interested in the Tophams, Nancy. Oh, they're no friends of mine, Nancy returned hastily. I was merely curious. After a time, as the launch chugged along close to the shore, Helen waved her hand toward a bungalow, which was set back some distance from the water. The Tophams own that one, she informed her chum. Eagerly, Nancy turned her head and looked. She told herself that she would remember the location. Oh, we're going to have a wonderful time here together, Helen chatted happily on. Next week, there's going to be a big dance, too. Oh, there's so much of interest at Moon Lake, Nancy. You'll stay, won't you? Involuntarily, Nancy's eyes swept the shore and came to rest on the Topham bungalow. You're right, Helen, she agreed heartily. There are a number of interesting things here. Yes, if you want me to, I'll stay. End of chapter. To several types of boats? Okay. Oh, thank you, Garrett. Thank you. Javid Rashed? Wait, I'm not sure why you're mentioning Highgate Cemetery or cemeteries in general, but Highgate Cemetery is really fascinating. What the fuck? Sorry. Anonymous, thank you for the 100 gift subs. Bro. Also, wait. Someone got gifted whose name is Magic Bean Soup. Oh, Magic Bean Soup. We do bean themed parties here. I think you might be interested in that. Welcome. Holy shit. Yep, thank you, T-Head. Breathe, redeem. Steak money. Oh my god. Anonymous. Thank you so much. That's incredibly generous. Holy moly. Hey, Lemon Slut. What, you just coming in here just to show off your golden kappa? That's a lot of gifts. Damn. Anonymous, thank you. I genuinely don't know who this is either. Thank you so much. Oh my god. Whoever it is has given you permission to use emotes for chaos. Well, have fun with that flannel. I'm glad you got gifted. Oh, Wildcraft got gifted. NFS Man got gifted. If that doesn't start, it may be less than an hour since the last train, perhaps. Yeah. Seriously generous. Oh my god. Thank you. Standing Pulse, thank you for the follow. Welcome. Oh, Electric Bees, you got gifted as well? Damn. And 9 Butts did? We got some cuties getting gift subs in here. Oh, Gnawbone did? Dang. Artax, thank you for those 100 biddies. Oh, there's the hype train. Holy moly. Not good. Thank you for the 100 biddies and Sleepy Hermit. I'm excited too. The pigs are getting all riled up. Sorry for vertical viewers on YouTube. You're missing some context. Sorry about that. Sleepy Hermit might as well follow at this point. Well, I appreciate it. It's lovely to have you here. Holy moly. I am agog. I am befuddled and flabbergasted and bemused and what are some other synonyms? Funny accent, where you from? I'm from Canada. The timing was off. 100 subs would have. Well, I mean, oh, the 100 subs is not included in the hype train. That's diabolical. It's okay though. Oh my goodness. Well, that was. Damn. Oh, sorry. I try not to react to the icky comments on YouTube because don't feed the trolls, but some of them are just like. What? Discombobulated. Nimbus. Get your knickers under control. Nim. Pack that booty up. Flabbergasted is like surprised confusion. It's like, it's basically me. My flappers were gasted. Pig cam, yeah. Vertical viewers won't be able to see it, but pig cam. There's not much to see. It's just... Oh good, Nimbus is leaving Cloud alone now. She's deep in her food bowl now. Okay. Astonished? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. A variation in voice? What do you mean? In my voice? I do like voices when I'm reading, if that's what you mean. Alright, let's jump back in. Holy moly, Anonymous. Damn. Thank you. I don't know what else to say. Thank you. Nincompoopulated. She is a nincompoop. Best narrator I know. Oh, Loki. Thank you. I mean, I'm demonstrably not speechless, but I'm not very eloquent either, so... Oh my god, Obi! Okay, I've never actually heard that one. That is brutal. When does a joke become a dad joke? When it leaves and never comes back. Oh shit. Okay. I've never heard that one. Christ. Oh, I'm glad you like my voice, Quiet Frame. Yeah, kinda Diabol, yeah. You threw that very TTRPG. Oh, sorry, very in the Discord chat. Oh, okay, I still need to check some things. Okay. When it becomes a bear. Oh, okay. The joke just went to get some milk. Hey, Dead by Summer. Hello. Your grandfather said that your generation relies on technology too much, so you unplug. Okay, well that's too dark. Obi, you're new here. That's a little too dark for me. That's fucked. That's fucked up. That's fucked up. Okay, let's don't come on camera. What if someone steals me? Guys, don't steal me. Don't steal me, okay? Alright, chapter 13. An adventure. Nancy Drew had made up her mind to visit the Topham cottage the very next day. But in making her plans, she had counted without Helen Corning and her friends. They were unwilling that she should be alone even for a minute. And from the moment she awoke in the morning and sniffed the fragrant odor of the pines, she was rushing from one thing to another. After a breakfast of fruit, fried eggs, crisp bacon, and hot cornbread, she was pressed into a tennis game. The afternoon was devoted to swimming and water polo. By evening, Nancy Drew was so tired she could scarcely keep her eyes open, and she was thankful for the opportunity of tumbling into bed. Camo, hi, thank you. Hi, Habitual. Why don't you have 400 plus people watching? I don't know. My YouTube channel does not get pushed out very much when I go live. I think it's pretty new. I only started going live on YouTube and uploading things in November. I do have like 90 people watching over on Twitch. But yeah, it would be awesome to get more people in, but I don't know. Alright. You forgot about the YouTube support. Gonna lurk over there. Oh, so I really appreciate that. Yeah, lurking over there helps so much with watch hours, because I would love to be able to qualify for the YouTube partner program. No pancakes? There might be not today, maybe another day. If you try and steal Faolkor, her library will come to kinetic defense and you'll have grumpy internet weirdos after you. Yes, indeed. Okay. Tomorrow, I simply must find a way to visit the Topham cottage, she told herself, just before she dropped off to sleep. Immediately after breakfast the following morning, Helen Corning announced the plan for the day. So many people on YouTube ask me if I'm a vampire. It's like occasionally people on Twitch ask if I'm a vampire, but I feel like it's a much more common question on YouTube. No, I'm a dragon. And arguably a witch. But, yeah. See, I don't drink blood, I just eat the whole damn peasant. We're not the same. Your name doesn't... It does. Not in the URL. The URL is just at Faolkor. But my actual channel name is Faolkor, the Book Dragon. Yeah. Are your descendants vampires? No? Loki, thank you for the 3-stream streak. Hi, Feral. Soul and all. Hell yeah. Like the never-ending story meets Ariel. That's kind of awesome, Pancake. Okay. The girls have decided on an all-day hike into the woods, Nancy. You'll go, won't you? Nancy groaned. You're wearing me to a frazzle, Helen. Oh, please let me off this time. I'd like to stay in camp today and just rest up. Well, all right, Helen agreed unwillingly. I'll stay with you. Oh, no, Nancy protested vigorously. I won't let you do that. You like to hike so well. Please, go on. I'll have a good time all by myself. Really, I will. I don't like to leave you, Nancy. But if you insist... I do, Helen. Please don't worry about me. I have a good time here. If you don't mind, I may take the launch out while you're gone. If you do, you better not go far, Helen advised her. We girls bought it secondhand for a song, and it's my private opinion the engine isn't much good. I'll be careful, Nancy promised. She could scarcely hide her eagerness to be off, but she was forced to wait until Helen and her friends had started on their hike. It seemed to Nancy that they would never leave. Oh, Irene, thank you. Thank you. But at last they trudged away with their knapsacks slung over their shoulders. You'll wish you'd gone too, Helen called back over her shoulder. Go fuck yourself, Helen. Sorry. As soon as the girls were out of sight, Nancy hurried down to the launch, which was tied at the dock not far from the camp. She examined the engine. She had frequently handled motorboats. Of course she fucking has. What hasn't Nancy Drew done? What skills does Nancy Drew not have? Jesus. Okay. She had frequently handled, not even just like she'd handled it, she's frequently handled motorboats. Don't call me Tim. Stop that. Stop that. Keyturn? Stop it. Okay. Yeah, the should I turn that off? I don't know how many more it's gonna go. It's okay. Yeah, the microphone is supposed to be quiet. Yeah. Yep. Here, let me put on some. Hi, Ricardo. Hello. You don't know that, DJ. Is it So Ace Wolf of Six? Welcome in. Thank you for the follow. Alright. Oh, thank you for the stretcher team, actually. That. Oof. Did you just hear my vertebrae? Alright. YouTube chat hits different. It really does. It's a very different vibe over there, isn't it? Okay. Let me, I'm just gonna turn that off so it's not in the VOD. But thank you again, Anonymous. That's crazy. That was amazing. Well, thank you, So Ace. Not gonna do that. I don't do kissing. But if story time interests you, then maybe that can help you fall asleep. And when we're done reading, we're gonna do some ASMR triggers. Not kissing still. But traditional triggers after that. So, okay. She had frequently handled motorboats, but never one of this particular make. I believe I can manage it all right, if only I can get the engine started, Nancy told herself. She discovered a pin sunk in the rim of the flywheel, and after adjusting other parts, pulled it out rather timidly. She gave the wheel a vigorous turn to the right. She tried again, swinging it farther and snapping back hard. To her delight, the engine began to roar. Cutting down the motor, Nancy steered out into deep water. At first, she followed the shore, but as she became more familiar with the wheel, and as the engine appeared to work perfectly, she headed out into the lake. Nancy experienced a real thrill as the little launch responded to her hand. The lake was as smooth as glass, and there was scarcely a cloud in the sky. As the launch cut through the water, a tiny spray blew in Nancy's face, but she did not mind. Far ahead, she could see the opposite shore, and she headed straight for the point where she knew the Topham bungalow was located. If only the caretaker will let me in when I get there, she thought, as she drew near her objective point. But she was doomed never to reach the opposite shore that day. For unexpectedly, there was a miss in the steady throb of the engine. The motor gave one long, slow wheeze and died. Oh, what can have happened to it now? Nancy cried anxiously. I can't have run out of gasoline. An examination of the tank revealed that it was nearly full. Nancy studied the engine doubtfully. Like most girls, she had never interested herself in the mechanics of what made wheels go round. Hateful thing, she murmured. I believe it stopped on purpose. Too late, Nancy recalled that her chum had warned her about the engine. Now, as she glanced toward shore, she saw no hope of rescue. She was within sight of the Topham bungalow, which appeared deserted, but miles from her own camp. For nearly an hour she worked over the engine, but her efforts were useless. The stubborn motor refused to start. I'll have to sit out here all day, Nancy thought miserably. This means I won't get to visit the Topham cottage after all. It was especially tantalizing to be so close to the bungalow, and yet know that she could not reach it. Nancy was tempted to swim, but she gave up the idea almost as quickly as it occurred to her. She realized that even if she reached the Topham bungalow, she would have no means of returning to camp. She decided that it would be better to remain on the lake and wait for a passing boat to rescue her. Yeah, crazy stuff. Dash cam, yeah, there's some wild folks in the YouTube chat. Is giving your homies a goodnight kiss gay? Probably. Not necessarily. It doesn't 100% mean. It depends on the type of kiss. And what kind of friendship you have. Probably. It's literally concerning over on YouTube. It's kind of crazy. Yeah. A little bit wild. A little bit unhinged. It's nice seeing your familiar names over there, though. Are you reading one of those TikTok gooner books? No! I'm reading, like, the most wholesome, innocent, like, girl mystery book from 1930. Nancy Drew? Like, no. God damn. Alright. What is your name? It's literally in my channel description. Okay. Slowly, the hours dragged on, and the launch drifted farther and farther from shore. Never had time seemed to pass so monotonously. There's one thing certain, Nancy Drew told herself. If I ever get out of this launch, I'll never set foot in it again. The camp boat seemed to be the only one on the lake, and as the day wore on, she began to wonder if she ever would be rescued. The sun beat down upon her, and with the passing hours, she became hungry as well as uncomfortable. Not Cabbage, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. This is very intimate? What? It's a girl in a boat. Oh, Julie, thank you. Thank you. After today, I'll never have another chance to visit the Topham bungalow alone, she thought. Helen means well, but she will stay with me every minute. I think the best thing I can do is tell her I'm starting for home tomorrow. That is, if I'm ever lucky enough to reach shore. On my way back to River Heights, I'll stop at the Topham cottage. Well, Helen will be disappointed, but it can't be helped. For want of other occupation, Nancy turned her attention again to the engine. When the sun sank into the water several hours later, she was still bending over it, a determined look in her eyes. There, she muttered as she straightened up. I've certainly done enough to it. If it won't go now, it never will. She gave the wheel a vicious swing, and, to her astonishment, the engine began its steady roar, as unconcerned as though it had never stopped. Shay, thank you for the 100 biddies. Fidge needs a raise. Fidge is saving my bacon, as it were. Well, if that isn't the limit, Nancy exclaimed in wonder. Hopefully, she glanced toward the shore, but already shadows were beginning to lurk among the trees, and she knew that in less than an hour, it would be dark. Oh, it's too late to visit the bungalow tonight, she decided regretfully. I'd better go back to camp before this engine changes its mind again. Obedient to her will, the little launch plowed through the water toward camp, its engine laboring faithfully. As she eased up to the dock, Nancy saw Helen and her friends just trudging into camp. They hailed her with delight. I'm nearly dead, Helen announced. You were smart to stay in camp, Nancy. She stopped abruptly and stared at her chum. Why, you're all sunburned. You're covered with grease. What have you been doing? Taking a sun bath, Nancy laughed. By the way, Helen, you were right about the engine, but I don't think it will give you any more trouble this summer. Anyway, I've donated 8 hours to the cause. 8 hours? Helen gasped. You've not been out on the lake all that time. It served me right, I guess. I should have gone on the hike. But while Nancy made light of her adventure, she was disappointed. Hi, Cabbage. Hello. This will help you sleep, Nero. I hope so. Sweet dreams if you're able to sleep. She had wasted a day, and time was precious. Would she ever reach the Topham bungalow? So far she'd been thwarted at every turn. End of chapter. Hi, Marky Mark. Good to see you. Staring at it. No, she was also tinkering. I wasn't just staring at it. Bedtime story hack, yeah. That's kind of what we do here. Yeah, for context, because I know we've got some newbies in here. So yeah, I am fairly new on YouTube. Only been going for a few months over there. But I've been streaming over on Twitch for, I mean, we gotta be coming up on like 3.5 years. And I do a mixture of traditional ASMR, not Gooner style, just, you know, lots of pretty chatty as well. And also we read books. So pretty much every stream has a reading section in it, and we read all sorts of different genres from the public domain. There's a few of them up on this YouTube channel, and I've got a huge backlog which will eventually be up there. But yeah, you can check the playlists. You know, we got some people in chat asking if I'm, you know, a vampire or a lesbian. Let me tell you, we've got a book on there called Carmilla, and if you're interested in lesbian vampires, is that the book for you? Go listen to that one. It's a classy play, sensory sound, but mostly lit club. Hell yeah. Vampires and lesbians are the same. Not always. What's it called? Carmilla. It's a novella, so it's not too long. Carmilla. It's that one is actually edited and uploaded onto the YouTube channel that I'm live on now. It is a really good story. It's an older book than Dracula. So it's an older vampire story than Dracula is. And it's like surprisingly smoldering, considering how old it is and the fact that it's about 2 girls. Yes, this very old book was named after the movie. You got that looks maxing jaw lines, bruh. You might cut your own hand with that sharp of a jawline. Thank you very much. Thank you. Do you guys want more reading tonight? Would you like more? The wildest shot to take? Was that meant to be an insult? I don't know. She's a chat of a lady. Hell yeah. Yes, pull it. I need to take like a 2-minute stretch, so I'm gonna put up a poll. You guys can choose if we read maybe like 1 or 2 more chapters, or if we switch over to doing ASMR triggers. Okay, let me set up the poll. Sorry, YouTube people, the poll is only happening on Twitch because I don't know. Wait, is there a way to do it on? You know what? There is a way to do it on YouTube. Hold on. I think I can do it on both. see. I've never done a poll over here. Okay. So we've got over on YouTube a poll, do we read more, yes or no? And then over on Twitch, what do you want to do next? Okay, Fitch, totally fair. Totally fair. You gotta read books, maybe you'll get that jawline. Yeah. Oh yeah. This jawline comes from literature. Okay, I'm gonna stretch. I'll be back in a couple minutes. All right. Hello again. Well, the poll on YouTube voted 80% yes to reading more, and on Twitch, you guys voted 57% said more reading, so a little more narrow of a vote. But it looks like we're doing a bit more reading. It was not on the widescreen because I don't see how to do it on the widescreen. Oh, you know what? I just learned how. It was much more obvious on the vertical. Sorry about that. But I'm pretty sure everyone watching on the horizontal is also on Twitch, I think. I don't know. Did Fitch go bitch? song is so good. Isn't it great? I'm so happy with it. Because she gets to delete comments now. Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be so honest. I'm probably gonna miss a bunch and just ignore them. Oh, let me end the poll. Okay. Alright, yeah, Fitch. If you need to go bed, thank you so much for your help so far. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Okay. Let's jump back in. By promising to leave if possible. Okay. Okay, then. Here we are. Chapter 14. An exciting discovery. Good night, Fitch. Good night. Back to the book about the movie. Right. Okay. Nancy Drew, why are you packing that suitcase? You're not leaving camp already. I feel like I've done Helen a huge disservice because I chose to give her the ditziest voice, like, on a whim. It's not based on anything said about her. If I had given her a more, like, mature voice, she like, I've done her dirty with this voice choice. Oh, that might be useful, DJ, if you're up for that, just for the rest of the stream. I think just in the vertical, not much is happening in the horizontal. I don't think it needs a lot of attention. Yeah. Okay. Let me throw you a sword in the vertical chat, okay? Thank you, DJ. Alright, there you go. Thank you so much, DJ. Helen Corning, entering the cabin which she shared with Nancy, stopped in the doorway and stared in amazement at her chum, who was folding wearing apparel carefully into her suitcase. Hi, Enclave. Hello. I'm afraid I must leave this afternoon, Nancy admitted regretfully. Oh, but you've only been here 3 days, Helen protested. Don't you like the camp? Oh, I've had a wonderful time, Nancy cried impulsively. And the girls have been so nice to me. I'd love to stay, but I can't. There's something important I must attend to at once. Can't it wait? I'm afraid not. I've waited too long already. Oh, but the dance, Nancy. You don't want to miss it. Well, I don't want to, Helen, but I really must go this afternoon. Hi, Adarsh. Hello. I can't understand what's made you change your mind so suddenly. It was that horrid experience in the launch, wasn't it? Nancy Drew laughed and shook her head. She could not tell Helen her real reason for departing. As long as she remained at camp, she knew that Helen and her friends would not leave her alone for a minute. It would be impossible to visit the Topham bungalow on the opposite end of the lake without offering explanations, and Nancy was unwilling to disclose the purpose of her trip. In spite of Helen's teasing, she remained firm in her decision to leave camp. Directly after luncheon, she slung her suitcase into the roadster and took leave of the girls. Regretfully, they watched her go. Hey, DJ, are you over there? Please. Thank you. Sorry, Helen, I need to go do crimes. Pretty much. Sorry, I'm fixing my sock. Okay. Regretfully, they watched her go. Now Now, if only I can find my way to the Topham bungalow, Nancy thought. The previous day, she had casually inquired from Helen which road led to the Topham bungalow, but the directions had been rather hazy. Coming to a fork, she selected the left-hand road, which appeared to circle the lake. As Helen had indicated, it was winding and narrow and richly sprinkled with sharp rocks. Hi, Nicholas or Nicola. Hello. From camp, it was comparatively easy to reach the Topham bungalow by launch, but the distance around the lake was nearly 8 miles. Nancy was forced to drive slowly, and she had met another car. Oh, and had she met another car, it would have been difficult to have passed. Zendri! Oh my goodness, Zendri! Thank you for the resub. Half a year! Zendri, thank you so much. How are you doing? It's good to see you. Zendri, if you're still around when we do wrap up the reading portion and open up triggers, I would love to give you a name trace. In places, the road was muddy, for overhanging trees and bushes protected the moist earth from the rays of the sun. The going was especially hard because of 2 deep ruts, which apparently had been made by a heavy truck. I wonder what a truck was doing up this road, Nancy mused, somewhat curiously. The tracks appear to have been made today, too. As she drove along, she noticed a number of summer cottages, but as the season was late, nearly all were boarded up. At last she came within sight of a clearing, and through the trees caught a glimpse of the Topham bungalow. I hope I find the caretaker, she thought. I'd certainly hate to go back without seeing him. Wait, so she's not trying to avoid the caretaker? Like, so she's not trying to do a break and enter. Not without a feeling of anxiety, she stopped the roadster at the edge of the road. To her surprise, she observed that the tracks made by the truck did not continue further. Apparently, the truck had turned in toward the bungalow. Nancy hurried up the path. As she emerged from among the trees, she stopped short and stared ahead in amazement. Like this. Me seeing Red Sea on fire. Red Sea, thank you for the 1,500 biddies. Red Sea. Red Sea on fire. How you doing? If you shout like this in the wild, somehow be warned that I'm loud enough to hear from several plazas away. Is a plaza like a standard unit of measurement? How large is a plaza? Red Sea, it's so good to see you. Thank you so much. You are very sweet and very generous. I hope you're having a wonderful day. The entire camp was in disorder. The front door of the bungalow had been flung wide open, and the side doors were likewise ajar. An overturned chair had been dropped carelessly on the porch, and a trail of knickknacks stretched from the house to the path. The grass had been trampled, and there were peculiar marks in the soft earth. There's something strange about this, Nancy murmured. Quickly she bent down to examine the marks, which were clearly visible. At a glance, she saw that the footprints had been caused by heavy boots, and there were long lines evidently caused by dragging boxes and furniture across the lawn. I think I'm beginning to see the light, Nancy told herself. Now I know what that truck was doing on this road. Unquestionably, it was a moving van, and it came here. Again, she examined the imprints in the soft earth. These marks couldn't have been made more than an hour ago, at the latest, she decided. As she hurried on up the path, it appeared to Nancy that the camp was deserted. There was no sign of Jeff Tucker. the caretaker in whose care the bungalow had been entrusted. Reaching the veranda, Nancy knocked loudly on the door. When there was no response, she boldly entered. "What can this mean?" she asked herself in dismay as she stared at the sight before her. The living room was in confusion. Save for a few pieces, it was bare of furniture. Even the draperies and curtains had been ripped from their rods. The rugs were missing, as was everything else of value. To Nancy's astonishment, she found that, with the exception of one room, the entire house had been ransacked. Only one bedroom had been left practically untouched, and as she stepped into it, she noticed that the rug had been rolled up and securely tied, as though in preparation for moving. As Nancy gazed at the disorder about her, she searched her mind for an explanation. What could it mean? "It looks like a case of ordinary robbery to me," she reasoned. Nancy had frequently read of cases where the summer homes of wealthy persons had been stripped of furniture and rugs by unscrupulous robbers who sold the valuables to second-hand dealers and fences. In recent years, there had been a number of thefts in the vicinity of Moon Lake, and as a protective measure, many of the cottage owners employed caretakers the year around. What had become of Jeff Tucker, the man who had been left in charge of the Topham bungalow? The place seemed deserted. Nancy realized that the Topham bungalow, which had been expensively furnished, would offer a rich prize for thieves. Now, as she viewed the evidence, the suspicion which lurked in her mind developed into firm conviction. She was certain that robbers had ransacked the place, carrying off nearly everything of value. "They must have taken the Crowley clock too," Nancy told herself with a sinking heart. "If they have it, I'll never set eyes on it again." Oh yeah, DJ, for reference, if someone comes in saying shit like Kevin was saying, you can just automatically go to a ban for them. Like, I am mainly on Twitch, like, I give people second chances often, but like, that shit just, there's just, nah. You have to, no, you're all good, Red Sea. SAF, hello. French? Are you asking if I'm French? Or if I speak French? Or totally, DJ. And I'm usually a little more lenient on Twitch, but it's just people are so fucking rude on YouTube. I'm like a little less patience over there. Sorry. Oh, because you said couth. Oh, okay. Yeah, that, but to be fair, that kind of comment, like Kevin made, even on Twitch, ban. That's, what the fuck is that? We don't need that around here. Okay. So yeah, if you could ban him now, that'd be great. Alright. If they have it, I'll never set eyes on it. A feeling of desperation came over the girl as she realized that again, she had been thwarted. It seemed almost as though a cruel fate had ordained that the mystery of the missing Crowley will should forever remain unsolved. It's barely possible the robbers overlooked the clock, Nancy thought, hopefully. Well, she began to look about in nooks and corners of the bungalow. She opened closets and poked about in drawers, but her search was in vain. She found no clock. As Nancy returned to the bedroom, she regarded it meditatively. Why had the robbers left this one room practically untouched? Certainly the furniture was as valuable as that which they had taken. Unquestionably, the thieves had intended to strip the room, for they had rolled up the rug. I wonder if they heard me coming and were frightened away, Nancy asked herself. I didn't see a sign of their truck, and yet I'm sure they couldn't have left here many minutes before I arrived. As the thought occurred to her, she glanced uneasily over her shoulder. She realized that she was buried in a wilderness, some miles from the nearest house, and the knowledge that unscrupulous men were in the vicinity was anything but reassuring. What if those robbers should still be around here? Flashed through her mind. As Nancy Drew listened tensely, the very silence of the empty house was startling. A strange feeling came over her. She could almost sense that someone was watching her every movement. End of chapter. Yeah, creepy. Chapter 15. A desperate situation. How silly of me to be afraid, Nancy Drew laughed nervously. Probably there isn't a person within miles of here. As she glanced about the bungalow, it was with relief that she assured herself the place was deserted. Yet for some reason she was unable to free herself entirely from the feeling that an unseen danger lurked in wait for her. And the very walls seemed to smirk and grimace at her, and there was an ominous something in the air. Now that Nancy felt certain that the Crowley clock had been stolen, she was anxious to get away from the Topham bungalow as quickly as possible. I'll drive to the nearest town and report the robbery to the police, she decided. Those men won't be able to travel very fast with a heavy moving van. There's a chance that they may be caught yet. Having made the decision, Nancy moved toward the front door. Passing a window, she chanced to glance out, and what she saw caused her to pause in sheer fright. A heavy-set man with a cap pulled low over his eyes was coming up the path toward the house. For a moment, Nancy Drew was held in a paralysis of fear. She was positive that the man who was coming toward her was one of the members of the robber band. Only an instant did the girl hesitate. Then she turned and ran back into the bedroom. Too late, she saw that she had trapped herself, for this room had no outside door. Nancy started back toward the living room, but before she had taken half a dozen steps, she realized that her escape had been cut off from that direction. The man had reached the veranda steps. Frantically, she glanced about for a hiding place. The bedroom closet offered the only possible refuge, and with scarcely an instant's hesitation, she stepped into it and closed the door behind her. Nancy was not a minute too soon. Scarcely had she shut the door when she heard the heavy tread of a man's hobnail shoes on the floor. Peeping cautiously out through a tiny crack in the door, she saw a rough-looking man come into the bedroom. His face was cold and cruel. As he turned toward the closet where she huddled, Nancy Drew held her breath, scarcely daring to breathe naturally, lest her presence be detected. Apparently, the man noticed nothing amiss, for his eyes rested only casually on the closet door. Nancy's hiding place was anything but comfortable. It was dark and musty, and old clothing hung from nails. As dust assailed her nostrils, she held a handkerchief to her face, lest she sneeze. "Oh, if I sneeze, they'll be sure to find me," she told herself. They'll know well enough it isn't an animal, even a cat. She felt around and once came close to catching her hand on a sharp nail. Then she felt something soft on a shelf and imagined it was a sleeping cat. She drew back, then felt more cautiously. Only an old fur cap, she told herself in disgust, and probably full of moths. Gracious, now I feel like sneezing worse than ever. She held her hand over her mouth hard and waited in agony. But presently the desire to sneeze passed, and Nancy breathed more freely. When she dared to peep out through the crack a second time, she saw that 2 other men had come into the room. From their appearance, she knew that they must be members of the robber gang. The first man seemed to be their leader, for he proceeded to issue orders. "Gotta move on," he growled. "We haven't got all day, unless we want to get caught. Take that dresser out of here first." The 2 men lifted the heavy piece of furniture and started with it to the door. But they did not move swiftly enough to satisfy the leader, and he berated them savagely. "Well, if you were in such a hurry, why didn't you back the van up to the door instead of leaving it hidden in the bushes?" one of the men retorted angrily. "Yes, and have someone see us from the road," sneered the leader. "Well, carry this out yourself if you think it's so light." From her hiding place, Nancy Drew watched the men as they deliberately stripped the room of everything valuable. Piece by piece they carried out the furniture, but the girl was given no opportunity to escape, for the leader of the gang remained in the room while the others made the trip to the van. "Well, I guess we have everything now," the leader muttered at last. He turned to follow his companions, who already had gone to the truck, but in the doorway paused for a last careful survey of the room. At that fateful moment, there came a muffled sneeze from the closet. "You came back to gain some brain cells because you've lost some while scrolling YouTube live shorts?" Welcome back, Dashcam. Yep. Let me help you. Let me help you with those brain cells. If you read a story in Braille and something bad's gonna happen, you can literally feel it. Oh, Pure This over on YouTube. Oh, thanks for watching over on YouTube, Pure This. Alright, Nancy fucking sneezed at the last minute. Girl, you almost had it. The robber wheeled about. Walking directly to the closet, he flung open the door and exposed poor Nancy, who was crouching in the far corner. Angrily, he jerked her out. "Spying on us, eh?" he snarled. Nancy Drew eyed the man defiantly. "I wasn't spying." "What were you doing in that closet?" "I came to see the caretaker." "Looking for him in a funny place, ain't you?" sneered the man. Nancy realized that she was in a desperate situation. The look on the robber's face frightened her. "Is this American or British?" "If you're talking about the book, it's American. It's set in the Midwest. If you're talking about me, neither. I'm Canadian." Nice piercing. Oh, thank you. Does the piercing hurt when eating spicy food? Don't eat spicy food. But probably not. Nancy realized that she was in a desperate situation. The look on the robber's face frightened her. "I heard someone coming and I was afraid," she explained lamely. "Well, it was unhealthy business that brought you here," the man told her sharply. "What did you hear in that closet?" Without giving her an opportunity to answer the question, he added, with a scowl, "I warn you, this will be the last time you'll ever stick your nose in business that doesn't concern you." As Nancy saw the expression on the man's face, There was no mistaking the ugly threat. One glance assured her that she could expect no mercy. The hopelessness of her situation gave her the courage to defy him. "I didn't hear much, but I saw plenty," she cried. "You're nothing but a common thief, and if I get the chance, I'll turn you and your gang over to the police." Okay, Nancy. Appreciate the spirit, but, like, I don't know if that's the smartest move. "If you get the chance, well, that's good," the robber laughed mirthlessly. "I'll do with you as I did with the caretaker." Oh, shit. The caretaker? Nancy gasped in horror. "What have you done with him?" "You'll find out, all in good time." The man held Nancy's wrists in a vice-like grip. Her efforts to free herself were of no avail. "It won't do you any good to try to get away," her captor informed her. Nancy was desperate. Suddenly, utilizing every ounce of her strength, she gave her imprisoned wrists a quick upward jerk. As the action tore her hands free, she darted for the door. With a cry of rage, the robber was after her. Almost in one long leap, he overtook her, caught her roughly by the arm, and forced her against the wall. I gotta be honest, I was not expecting things to get this brutal in a Nancy Drew book. Forced her against the wall. "Not much you don't," he snarled. Nancy Drew struggled this way and that. She twisted and squirmed. She kicked and clawed, but she was powerless in the grip of the man. "Little wildcat, you won't do any more scratching when I get through with you." "Let me go," Nancy cried, struggling harder. The man half carried, half dragged her across the room. Opening the closet door, he flung her roughly inside. Nancy heard a key turn in the lock. The sliding of a bolt into place followed. "Now you can starve for all I care," the man laughed harshly. Then the steady tramp of his heavy boots across the floor told Nancy Drew that he had left the house. End of chapter. Nancy should learn some jujitsu and start, like, carrying a knife on her. Just Nancy Drew, the little uptown girl with a switchblade in her pocket. Yeah, she needs to learn lockpicking too. Yep. Okay. Okay, well, we can't leave her starving in a closet. We need to read one more. Okay. Like, it's a terrible place to leave Nancy, so. Wrong macro? Wait, what do you mean? Chapter 16. Left to starve. When the sound of the footsteps had died away, Nancy Drew was overcome with panic. A feeling of desperation came over her. She realized that the robber had dared to carry out his ugly threat. Oh, are you just looking for the link to my ASMR channel? Do you have natural blue eyes or are those contacts? No, this is my natural eye color. My hair is obviously dyed. But no, natural eye color. Okay. He had locked her in the closet and had left her there to starve. At first, Nancy was too frightened to think logically. She beat frantically upon the door with her fists, but the heavy oak panels did not give. I mean, yeah, no, my hair has always grown this color naturally. Yeah. Help! Help! She screamed. At last, exhausted by her efforts to force the door open, she fell down upon the floor, a dejected, crushed little figure. Maybe those men will come back later and let me out, she tried to encourage herself. Surely they can't be so heartless as to leave me here to starve. But even as the thought came to her, she heard the muffled roar of a heavy truck as it passed the Topham bungalow on the way to the road. With a feeling of utter hopelessness, Nancy heard the van depart. She knew, for a certainty, the cruel, hardened rascals were indifferent to her plight. They had abandoned her to a horrible fate. Turn your speakers up, Dr. Mantis. And then you'll be able to hear me. The caretaker, I'm guessing he's locked away somewhere. One, because I don't think Nancy Drew books have murder in them. And also the robber said, I'll do to you what I did to the caretaker. And then he locked her in a closet. So I'm guessing the caretaker is locked away somewhere else. But he's not in the same closet. I think it would have been mentioned by now. The house was as silent as a tomb. Although Nancy had little hope that there was anyone within miles of the cottage, she again raised her voice and shouted for help. Her cries echoed through the empty house and seemed to mock her. Oh, why didn't I have sense enough to tell Helen Corning where I was going? She thought miserably. She believed I was starting for home. Well, the girls will never dream that I came here. And her father thought that she intended to remain at the camp for a week. He would not become alarmed over her absence until it was too late. Oh, if only she had never left her home in River Heights. Someone may find my roadster at the side of the road, Nancy reasoned, but it isn't very likely. Few persons pass this way so late in the season. What had become of Jeff Tucker, the caretaker? Well, certainly she could expect no aid from that quarter. The robber had hinted that he had done away with the old man, and knowing the character of the rascals, it was impossible not to believe the worst. As the full significance of the situation dawned upon the girl, panic again took possession of her. In a desperate attempt to break down the door, she threw her weight against it again and again. She pounded upon the panels until her fingers were bruised and bleeding. At last, she sank down to the floor to rest and tried to force herself to reason calmly. I'm only wasting my strength this way. I must try to think logically. If I don't, I'm lost. Nancy Drew recalled that she had once read that it was possible to pick a lock with a hairpin. Feeling in her hair, she found a heavy wire one and began to work at the lock. But in the darkness, she could not see, and she made little progress. After 15 minutes, she gave up the task in disgust. Well, it's no use, she decided miserably. I'm afraid I'll never get out. She began to think of her father, of Helen Corning and other dear friends. Would she ever see them again? As despondency claimed Nancy, she was dangerously near tears. Resolutely, she tried to shake off the mood. This will never do, she told herself sternly. Surely there is a way to get out of here. I must keep my head and try to think of something. After a time, as a new idea occurred to the girl, she began to rummage about in the closet, hoping that by some lucky chance she might find a tool which would help her force the lock of the door. She searched carefully through the pockets of every garment which hung from the hooks. She groped over every inch of the floor. She found nothing of value, and and the cloud of dust which was stirred up made breathing more difficult than before. The closet had become uncomfortably warm by this time. Then, unexpectedly, Nancy's head struck something hard. Quickly investigating, she discovered a narrow wooden rod suspended overhead. Evidently, it had once been used for dress and coat hangers, as it was fastened to either wall and ran the length of the closet. Hi, Solid Snake. Hello. Do people not dust their closets? I mean, this is not a full-time house. It's like a summer house. I don't know. But yeah. It sounds like a lot of dust. What's up? Nimbus? Nimbus? Calm down. I think the caretaker would. You'd think. Yeah. Yeah. Vasan? Hello. You can't hear? You may need to turn up your volume. This is a cozy ASMR reading, so it is quieter on purpose. Alright. If I could get that rod down, I might be able to use it to break out a panel of the door, Nancy thought, hopefully. It feels strong, and it's about the right size. She tugged at the rod with all her might. To her satisfaction, one side gave. Another hard jerk brought the rod down on her head. To her bitter disappointment, Nancy found, as she examined the rod, that it was too long to use as a ram. But, after a little experimentation, she discovered that she could press it into service as a wedge. Inserting it into the crack between the hinges, she threw all of her weight against the rod. At first, the door did not budge. Archimedes didn't know what he was talking about when he said the world could be moved with a lever, Nancy murmured. I'd like to see him move this door. You tell him, Nancy. As she applied steady pressure to the rod a second time, she saw that the hinges were beginning to give. Hi, Darren. Hello, welcome. Encouraged, she applied more force. It's coming, she cried. Once more, she threw her weight against the rod. A hinge tore from the casing, and the door sagged. It was now easy to insert the wedge, and Nancy knew that success would soon be hers. Then, Nimbus! What are you doing? She doesn't like that. Okay. Oh, I have guinea pigs. Okay. Sound levels are good. Yeah, thanks, Keezy King. Well, those weren't happy guinea pig noises. Those were the squeals of protest because one of them was bullying the other one. Like, not in a dangerous way, just normal guinea pig politics. She's trying, Red Sea. It wasn't successful. Okay. Then, just as another hinge gave way, she was startled to hear footsteps. Someone came running into the bedroom, and a heavy body hurled itself against the door of the closet. The unexpected action stunned Nancy. Could it be that one of the robbers had heard the noise she had made and had returned to make sure she did not escape? Oh, she discarded the theory as quickly as it came to her. The robbers were far too wise to tarry once their disgraceful work had been accomplished. Then, too, she heard their moving van leave. Frantically, Nancy rattled the doorknob. Oh, he was a caged lion this time, a rather unsteady voice remarked. It was one of these tough robber boys, is you? Well, you won't do no more pilfering, 'cause I done got you surrounded. Let me out, Nancy pleaded. I'm not a robber. The sound of a feminine voice coming from the closet nonplussed the man. Say, robber boy, is you imitating a lady's voice to throw me off the scent? If you is, it won't do no good, 'cause I's a natural born, two-legged bloodhound. Nancy thought of a way to convince him. She let go her longest and loudest feminine scream. That's enough! Hold your siren, I'll let you out. There ain't a man in the world could make a racket like that. This way out, lady. Expectantly, Nancy waited, but the door did not open. My lordy, she heard to her horror, has done gone and misplaced a key. End of chapter. End of chapter. I'm guessing this is the caretaker. Hold your siren. Yeah. Okay, the question is, do we read one more or do we wrap? We read several already tonight, but the next story is Jeff Tucker's story. I feel like probably it'll be like a more natural ending point after this, you know? Yeah. Let's read one more, and then I feel like it'll probably be a more natural ending point. Pausing point. Okay. Chapter 17. Jeff Tucker's story. There was another long wait, and then, to her relief, Nancy Drew heard a key turn in the lock, and then a bolt shot back. Quickly, she pushed the closet door open and stepped out into the light. She stood face to face with Jeff Tucker, the caretaker employed by the Tophams. The robbers had led her to believe that they had harmed the old fellow, and Nancy was glad to see him well and happy, albeit a little too happy, for Jeff Tucker plainly had had a bit too much to drink. Oh, Jeff still knew very well what was going on about him, but a certain alcoholic glitter in his eyes and his somewhat unsteady stance informed Nancy that he was not just as sober as the proverbial judge. And she suspected that while he had been absent on his convivial celebration, the robbers had made off with the Topham furniture, for even in his condition of semi-inebriety, Jeff seemed to realize that something was amiss. He stared at Nancy, and then his eyes roved about the topsy-turvy room. Say, white girl, you tell me where all this here furniture is at. I want to say his dialogue is like heavily written in an accent. Like it's spelt in the accent. I'm not just throwing it on for funsies. Nancy smiled in spite of herself at the old caretaker's bewilderment, for try as he might, he evidently could not rationalize the situation. The most definite information I can give you, she said, is that some robbers carted it away. If you had been here attending to your duty, it would never have happened. That's right, blame me. I ain't supposed to be no standing army. I was just a plain cold man with a wife and 7 children a dependent on me. No, Mom, I ain't having no truck with them machine gun boys. Jeff paused and passed his hand over his forehead as if he were trying to wipe away the alcoholic cobwebs that were accumulating about his perceptive faculties. Then suddenly he pointed a bony finger at Nancy and demanded, How come you here? That's a fine question for you to ask, replied Nancy indulgently, but I don't mind telling you. I arrived just as the robbers were hauling off the last of the furniture. They locked me in the closet. I must have been in there for hours. It was in that there closet all that time. Jeff's voice suddenly took on a pathetic tone. You poor child. Suppose you had a starved to death in there, or the house had burned down, or you was scared into fits, or... There now, Jeff, don't take on about what might have happened to me. I'm all right. Nancy determined to try persuasion on the old fellow. Oh, she's rolling persuasion. In order to find out what had happened to him. Tell me where you were last night, she suggested gently. Well, miss, it was this here way. I was out in the yard a-chorin' around last night, and a-thinking how I wished I was some place where I wasn't. Just any place. I didn't mind where. I was just all fed up being a caretaker, and taking care of all this truck from morning till night. It ain't such an exciting life, miss. And while I's done sowed all my wild oats, I still sows a little rye now and then. Sorry, did sowing your oats used to mean something different? Like, did it used to just mean, like, living life and not specifically fucking around? Because he said that he had a wife and a lot of kids. He just meant living... Okay, cool. That's cool. Cool. Oh, it's not wild oats. Oh, that's the difference. Okay. Like climbing mountains and stuff. Is that what we're calling it? Okay. No, he says wild oats, though. He says, I've sowed all my wild oats, but I still sow a little rye now and then. Yes, Jeff. I can smell that on your breath right now. The rye. Jeff wiped the back of his hand over his mouth in an apparent effort to keep his rye-laden breath from being propagated into the atmosphere. You can't blame me, miss, he protested. He give it to me. Who is this he? Well, that white man who drives up in the big sedan. He sees me out there and knows how lonesome and useless I feel, so he says, Jeff, hop in. I know a place where. So in I hops. Of course, I locked up in this here house and the barn and see that everything was safe. Well, safe? From the looks of this room, one could hardly call it that. Oh, well, miss, it looked safe, and I felt safe, too, when we whizzed off in that big car. Then this white man, he says, Jeff, how about a little drink? And I says, I don't mind, seeing it's you. Then I had one and some more, too, I guess, 'cause after a while, didn't feel like I was riding no automobile at all. I thought that the chariot had done gone and swung low, and I was a-being wafted off to some place in the general direction of heaven. Well, that was a fine thing to do, I must say, Nancy commented. Then what happened? Well, I comes to. I sees I ain't no chariot no more, but I's in a hotel, and I's in bed, and I'm feeling powerful sickish-like and discouraged. Well, I get my clothes on, and I sees my keys to the house has done been pilfered. Then I tries to recollect what done come to pass, and I get suspicious. I says to myself, Jeff, how come that white man's so friendly? How come he gives you drinks that costs $4 a pint? How come you ain't got no keys? Black boy, bestir yourself, and here I is. Oh yes, you're here all right, Nancy returned severely, and a fine mess you've made of it, too. What do you think Mrs. Topham will say when she learns? Hi, Roems. Jeff rolled his eyes. Lawdy, miss, what will she say? I reckon I's done gone and discharged myself. Well, it would be only what you deserve, Jeff. You were unfaithful to your trust. What do you mean, mistrust? I don't trust nobody no more, especially no footloose white boys a-traveling around in sedans. You don't understand. I mean, you didn't treat Mrs. Topham right in going off. I reckons you's right, miss. Old Jeff done gone and make a fool of himself. I realize that whatever I gets, I got it a-comin'. Yeah, $4 pint sounds... Wait, wouldn't that be a lot back then? Yeah, he's saying like they were expensive drinks, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Hi, Mark. A tear rolled out on Jeff's furrowed old cheek, and he wiped it away with his handkerchief. There, Jeff, Nancy said consolingly. Let's forget about what has been done and think about what we can do to straighten things out. I'll try to help you. We must report the robbery to the police right away. Is there a telephone in the house? No, miss. We ain't got no telephone here. We always uses the RFD. I don't know what that is. Does anyone know what that is? Then we shall have to go to town as quickly as we can in my car. Do you suppose that you would recognize the man who enticed you away, Jeff? Say, would I remember him? I recognize that man in a bootleggers convention. He was tall and slick-looking with a kind of gimme look in his eyes. Yes, Mom, I sure would know that baby. Radio frequency dial. Thank you, Artax. Or device, maybe? Like radio frequency device? Yeah. Okay. So like a, kind of like a CB radio? Free rural postal service back then. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Before leading the way to her roadster, Nancy Drew thought of the old Crowley clock again, and all that it might mean in the solving of the mystery of the will. Jeff, as caretaker, would surely know whether or not it was in the bungalow before the robbery. Tell me something, Jeff, she said. Was there an old clock in the house? A tall, square-faced mantel clock? Yes, miss. But all I ever done was to dust it. Never wound it up to see if it would run. I've got a watch of my own. Jeff punctuated his remarks by taking a large, silver, open-face watch from his pocket and holding it to his ear. It done run down, too. I reckon that I was in that hotel when I should have been tending to this watch. Never mind the watch, Jeff. You're sure there was a clock in the house then? Oh, I was dead rights on that, miss. There sure was. I recollect that clock was as plain as day. I wouldn't forget that clock. No, Mom, never. Nancy now felt almost certain that this was the clock, which contained the notebook telling of what disposal had been made of the Crowley will, and that it had been stolen by the robbers. She must recover the clock, and there was only one way. The thieves must be apprehended and the stolen good returned. With this thought in her mind, she rushed out toward her roadster, calling to Jeff to follow. Well, as a common, miss, Jeff called. Just a minute. He half hobbled off behind the house out of Nancy's sight, while she sat waiting impatiently in her roadster. She started the engine and warmed it up, but Jeff still failed to return. Wait, so these were like $80 shots? That's crazy. Or check pawn shops. Does Nancy Drew know what a pawn shop is? Right. She started the engine and warmed it up, but Jeff still failed to return. She called to him, but there was no response. Finally, she could stand the suspense no longer. Jumping to the ground, she set off to find out what had become of the old scamp. She found Jeff leisurely performing an elaborate facial ablution at the cistern pump. He would pump his hands full of water and then, with a great spluttering noise, dash it against his face. For goodness sake, Jeff, said Nancy, provoked as she came upon him. Don't you realize I've been waiting for you? Those robbers will probably be in the next state before we even succeed in notifying the police. Excuse me, miss, but I was taking a little wash. I see you are, but can't that wait? Well, but this here wash is important. I just wants to get good and sober before I goes in that police station. And this cold water is good for what ails me. Coax, wheedle, or threaten, Nancy was unable to hurry Jeff a minute. But at last he had finished, and Nancy, with a sigh of relief, loaded him into the waiting roadster As she stepped upon the accelerator and the car moved slowly out into the highway, she wondered where the old Crowley clock was now. Excuse me? Shh. She wondered where the old Crowley clock was now, and whether she would ever be able to recover it from the thieves. End of chapter. Okay. Damn. What are you guys thinking? I'm sorry if I did a terrible job with that accent. Like, it's really... Yeah, his dialogue is very over-spelt. Oh my goodness. You got so many ants in your pants, Nim. What's up? Finish the book. Well, we're not going to finish it tonight, because we're only maybe like... Okay, we're at chapter... we've read 17 chapters out of 25. They spent a shit ton to get him drunk. You did great reading his accent. Okay, good. Can you do a huge scream, wake them all up? No. Nope. Yeah, they didn't do any murderizing. To be fair, like, there's a big difference between robbery and murder. Like, just because someone is criminal enough to, like, rob a whole house doesn't mean they've got it in them to kill someone. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can be a bad person and a criminal, but still not be at that point, you know? At least not if you don't have to. They did lock her in a closet, but see, that is like, they're not, like, I know, it's not quite the same, though. He's given her a chance to escape, and, you know, it's not, like, at his hands. No, I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to over-reason with him. My name is not Sharon. No. Okay, guys. Well, we got a lot read today. We read 6 chapters. Yeah, they didn't know she's the daughter of Carson Drew. Oh, dang. Yeah, we got 16 chapters read, which is really great. We will be picking this up again Tuesday night. If they killed her, it would be a short series. Yeah, but they didn't kill him either. You know, like, I don't know. Yes, so we will be back, because we're going to wrap up on YouTube. We'll keep going on Twitch. I'll take another couple minutes just to get up and walk around, stretch. And then we will open up triggers and do some ASMR. And we will be going live, likely, on my other YouTube channel. You look like 2001. Oh, thanks. 2001 was a rad year. We got another book where the horses are safe, man. But the chickens aren't. A shit ton of chickens died. That sucks. Yeah. So, if you enjoyed this reading, if you're over on YouTube, please consider subbing to the channel, and dropping a like. Once this turns into a VOD, once I go offline, if you could drop a like on the video, that would be amazing. I stream usually 3 to 4 times a week over on Twitch, and then for the reading portions I go live on this YouTube channel, and then sometimes for the ASMR I go live on my other YouTube channel, which is just for ASMR. So if you look at the URL, this is at Faolkor. My other channel is at Faolkor ASMR. So, plus it's listed in the description. And also, SLE photo just popped it in the chat. Thank you so much, DJ. Thank you. Yeah. So my main stream nights are Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. And yeah, hopefully I'll see some of you again. That would be awesome. Thank you to everyone who watched on YouTube. It really does help with accruing the watch hours that I need to unlock the partner program. No, DJ, I really appreciate the help over there. I really do. Okay. All right, let's wrap up on YouTube then. Twitch viewers, don't go anywhere. We're not ending stream yet. We're just gonna say good night.